when you think of the three shows you asked about, whether it's Lion King, Mary Poppins, or Aladdin, in the case of Lion King, Julie Taymor's beautiful vision of the show takes the story of the Lion King and simply expands it out and then fills it with the beautiful creations, the puppets and masks and what have you in the Lion King. In the case of Mary Poppins, we used both the great Walt Disney movie and the books of Pamela Travers, and we added all those elements together and made a distinct story for Mary Poppins. In the case of Aladdin, we did something even different again. We use all the elements that you know from the famous 1992 movie, but we also went back into the vault and pulled back things that had been written for the movie but not included. So there were story elements, there were songs and things in Aladdin that ultimately never made it to the screen, but the composer, Alan Menken, the great Alan Menken, said, what about these elements? And so songs now like Proud of Your Boy that Aladdin sings early in the show becomes his anthem for the show. And that had been cut from the movie altogether. And it's a beautiful song that gets restored for this purpose.
Thank you for that. You've obviously got quite the history working for Disney.
I've worked for Disney as long as you've been around, I'll bet.
Probably. No, I was just curious. You've now obviously been head of Disney Theatrical for quite a while. What keeps you in theatre? What keeps you wanting to...
Well, you know, for me, I grew up in San Francisco, California as a theater kid. All I ever wanted to do was make theater. I went to school to make theater. And then this curious thing happened where I got invited about 30 years ago to come to Disney to produce an animated movie. And that was actually set in Australia called The Rescuers Down Under. And I started making these animated movies, and then I eventually became the head of Disney Animation. But during that period, we also started Disney Theatrical as a small little business. And now we're the largest producer of live theater in the world. How could you not be excited by the chance to work with our director, Casey Nicolau, to work with my dear partner, Alan Menken, to tackle shows that you know based on famous movies, but then also ideas like Peter and the Starcatcher, which we did on Broadway a few years ago. This summer, I spent the entire summer in Denver, Colorado, working on the out-of-town tryout of Frozen. The chance to work with new artists, to work with new material, to bring back things that people know, as well as things that you may not have even thought of. That's why we make theater. We make theater so that an audience will gather in the dark and join us for storytelling as they have done for 2,000 years. And how joyful is that?
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And finally, have any advice to any aspiring theatre actors?
Oh, sure. I wrote a book about theater for kids called How Does the Show Go On? And I don't in the book write just about actors. I write about all the jobs in the theater. And I think one of the things about the theater is people tend to think, how do I become an actor in the theater? But what about how do I become a writer in the theater? A lighting designer, a scenic designer? How do I become a director? How do I become a choreographer? This is a legitimate life pursuit. It's a career. I tend not to give career advice because I always feel like the people who are destined to work in the theater are going to find their way. But I often speak about the theater not as a vocation, but as an avocation. How joyful is it to be a kid growing up and be able to be in a show, create a show, work on a show, be backstage, teaching teamwork, collaboration, empathy, all the soft skills that you need to go on in life. Almost everything you learn by making theater, you could use as an adult in any other part of your life pursuit. And the more kids that I can get on their feet, backstage, on stage, making theater, learning how to be an audience, learning how to be in a show. It teaches appreciation for all of that. There's so much you can learn by being a part of the theater. So anywhere I can go and be an advocate for that, I am. And I teach at Columbia University. I'm going to talk to some college students today. For people who actually want a career in the theater, the resources are vast, 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 vast. And look at this growing industry here in Australia.
Yeah, and so you would say inspiring them is definitely part of the work you do.
When I was a kid, I was surrounded by great teachers. And those teachers said, yes, you can. You can do this. And I always tell someone, if you want to do this, go do it. You need to ask permission. Go do it.
All right, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Sarah.